Hi, I'm Dr. Louis Abate of Luminary Wellness in New York City. Welcome to our video blog entitled Pensieri. I happened to catch a story that the Indianapolis Colts quarterback Peyton Manning underwent neck surgery for a bulging disc several times this year, and that the neck surgery failed, and that he flew off to Europe to undergo adult stem cell therapy treatment on the bulging disc in his neck. I saw this story not too long after I heard about the GOP presidential hopeful Rick Perry undergoing adult stem cell therapy for back pain. So what drew my attention to the Peyton Manning story is all the media attention around the supposed controversy of adult stem cell therapy treatment, and the fact that one doctor or one specialist that was interviewed said it's not FDA approved therapy, and therefore he could be doing millions a disservice. And also he's doing the country a disservice because he's taking his own health into his own hands. Let's just examine this very briefly right now. First of all, a bulging disc doesn't just happen. And in Mr. Manning's case, it's probably due to a spinal cord under tension that not only is under tension, but then is undergoing the physical abuses of his career. So while undergoing those physical abuses with the spinal cord under tension, the body in its own wisdom and healing capacity couldn't maintain the integrity of the disc. The way I look at this, the rupture is his body's way of saying, pay attention, we need to do something differently. Maybe it's not such a good idea to have a 300-pound guy sitting on our neck. The stem cell therapy is taking stem cells from one part of your body and actually injecting them into your neck. My question is, what if they miss and you end up paralyzed? But more importantly, I want to examine the controversy around his decision. The first thing that we're told is that, well, it's not an FDA-approved therapy. So let's take a look at that. We've been led to believe that when the FDA puts its stamp of approval on something, that it has undergone rigorous lab and animal testing and then undergone a double-blind, human-controlled study before being released to the public. Is that really true? Do you remember Vioxx and Avandia? What about lead paint? Contaminated toothpaste? And contaminated pet food? And what about aspartame? Aspartame, or NutraSweet, or as it's also known as Splenda in some cases, causes over 1 million reactions a year, more than any other food additive out there. In 1981, when aspartame was being studied, an FDA statistician stated that brain tumor data on aspartame was so worrisome that he could not recommend the approval of NutraSweet. This evidence was wholly ignored and falsified by the FDA, and it was actually pushed through in one of the quickest approval processes by the voting committee, who benefited from kickbacks from the manufacturer of aspartame. And then there's the Menaflex patch, which is used in knee replacements. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration admitted that 4 New Jersey congressmen and its own former commissioner unduly influenced the process that led to its decision last year to approve the patch for injured knees. So the FDA's scientific reviewers stated that the Menaflex patch, manufactured by RenGen Biologics, often failed and often forced patients to get another operation on their knees. They recommended that the patch not be approved. But in an FDA report, the FDA admitted to receiving what they described as extreme, unusual, and persistent pressure from 4 New Jersey congressmen. When they did that, the agency managers overruled the scientists and approved the device for sale this past December. All 4 legislators made their inquiries within a few months of receiving significant campaign contributions from RenGen Biologics, which is also based in New Jersey. When we looked further into the FDA approval process, we found an article written in the Journal of the American Medical Association. And it found conflicts of interest among US FDA Drug Advisory Committee members are very common, and also that there is a statistically significant link between conflicts and voting behaviors. These conflicts can be consulting fees paid by the pharmaceutical industry, stock holdings or investments, or even research grants. And it found that in nearly 75% of all the FDA voting meetings, at least one member, if not more than one member, had a conflict of interest, and that those members did not recuse themselves. The study also showed that for every member, every voting member with a conflict of interest, there was a 10% greater likelihood that the meeting itself would favor the drug in question. So this brings us all back around to say that with our blind trust in the FDA, if you have neck and back pain, if you have neck and back problems, are you going to wait for the FDA to approve a treatment for your neck and back pain? So I bring all these things up because we've been led to believe that once the FDA puts their stamp of approval on something, that it's safe for general use. And yet, all you have to do is look at the drugs that have been pushed through that have caused fatal reactions to know that's not the case. And yet, network spinal analysis is safe, gentle, and effective at relieving back pain, neck pain, disc problems. It helps cue the body to create a physiological response consistent with relieving and releasing the stress and tension on the spinal cord so that the symptoms can actually improve and they're not masked over by a drug or a therapy. I'm Dr. Louis Abate of Illuminari Wellness in New York City. Join us next time on our video blog, Pensieri.